Look at the Rajesh Exports stock chart over the last decade. You'll see a company climbing to incredible heights before the floor suddenly fractures. On paper, the company operates as a massive global gold refiner and jewelry manufacturer, processing incredible volumes of the precious metal. In 2022, it was a large-cap giant valued at over 20,000 crore rupees. But over the next 3 years, it bled value, slipping into mid-cap territory before plunging into the small-cap zone by 2025, worth less than a quarter of its peak. The market was pricing in a problem long before it became public knowledge. Regulators were quietly beginning to map out what appears to be a massive financial distortion. The scrutiny didn't begin with a whistleblower inside the corporate office. In 2024, a shareholder wrote a letter to the market regulator, SEBI. The complaint pointed out a strange entry in the company's financial books, huge sums of money supposedly owed by customers that had remained entirely unpaid for over 2 years. That specific detail was enough for SEBI to open a formal investigation. They took the standard first step and requested the underlying financial records from Rajesh Exports. A routine question about late payments provided the exact thread investigators needed to start pulling apart a reported 15 lakh crore in revenue. Investigators immediately hit a wall. The company refused to hand over records for its foreign subsidiaries, claiming that Swiss privacy laws prohibited the disclosure. SEBI reviewed those laws and found the argument severely lacking. Swiss privacy protections generally apply to individuals, and they include specific exceptions for regulatory investigations. Once forced to comply, the results were striking. This chart shows the company's response to forensic auditors. When asked for supporting documents on a sample of purchase transactions, Rajesh Exports could only provide evidence for 2% of them. The sales data was slightly better, but still glaringly deficient. Providing documentation for 35% of sales leaves 65% of the requested transactions entirely unaccounted for. Missing that volume of documentation goes well beyond administrative errors. It indicates that the vast majority of the company's financial claims had zero physical proof behind them. To understand the scale of the missing money, you have to look at where it was supposedly generated. In financial year 2026, the company reported 7.6 lakh crore in global revenue, with 98 to 99% of that coming from its European subsidiaries. This flowchart outlines the corporate structure, tracing from the Indian parent company to a Singapore subsidiary, which branches down to a Swiss holding company called GGR, and finally ends at Valcambi SA. Valcambi is an actual, prestigious operating gold refinery, and its financial statements are fully audited by KPMG. But those audited statements revealed a massive gap. Valcambi's actual reported revenues were less than. Instead, they used the unaudited internal spreadsheets of a holding company to invent nearly 15 lakh crore rupees in global revenue. The domestic business in India had its own highly suspicious ledger. Between 2022 and 2024, the company recorded 11,000 crore rupees in sales and purchases with a stockbroker called Affluence Shares. Buying and selling nearly identical, massive amounts to a single counterparty while generating virtually zero profit contradicts the basic mechanics of commercial trading. When SEBI summoned the broker to explain the trades, they provided a definitive answer. Rajesh Exports was never their client, and they had no agreements with the company. Bank records showed the actual client was the founder of Rajesh Exports, Rajesh Mehta. He was trading gold derivatives on his personal account, using 7.45 crore rupees of company funds to do so. This visualization demonstrates how the math was manipulated. The 7.45 crore rupees was just margin money for highly leveraged trades. The company took the massive gross value of Mehta's personal market bets and recorded them as actual corporate gold sales. They created the illusion of massive domestic scale by taking an executive's personal derivative trading and dressing it up as legitimate corporate revenue. Investigators also found smaller cumulative distortions, like taking foreign exchange variations and fixed deposit interest and reclassifying them as core operating revenue to further pad the top line. These findings validate the severe stock market reaction that began in 2023, triggered by a massive governance failure. The company simply stopped publishing its comparative cash flow statements. A profit and loss statement can be manipulated, but a cash flow statement tracks the actual physical movement of money. Refusing to publish it immediately signals to investors that the paper profits likely do not match reality. SEBI's findings truly exist as an interim order, and Rajesh Exports has strongly denied all allegations, stating that the regulatory conclusions are based entirely on incorrect assumptions. Whether the result of complex misunderstandings or intentional fabrication, the data shows that a multi-trillion rupee corporate empire can easily evaporate the moment the market demands to see the actual receipts.